All right, I would like to call to order the Monday, October 21st meeting of the City of Monona Finance and Personnel Committee. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Wood.
Here.
Alder Kitzler.
Here.
Mayor O'Connor.
Here. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the October 7th meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Any corrections or additions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. There are no appearances. Under unfinished business, item 5A, consideration of resolution 19-10-2376, approving a proposal from Accurate Appraisal LLC for services related to the assessment of properties. Brian? would you like to-
Thank you. So at the previous meeting, you had a couple of questions for Accurate Appraisal based upon the response that they had submitted to our RFP. So I'd asked Jim Danielson to come to our meeting tonight and kind of answer any questions you might have. I did give him a heads up that one of the questions you were interested in is their mechanism that they use to calculate commercial value. So ask Jim to head up to the podium and
Okay.
feel free to.
Questions? Alder Wood, Alder Kitzler?
So one of my questions was kind of related out of, commercial, I guess, just how you appraise that, and then also how you go about doing the 25%, because I think last year at some point we found that there were a few businesses that weren't reappraised for one reason or another, and so there were things that were raised because of that. So
Okay.
if you can kind of just share with us kind of those details.
Sure. First of all, the 25% that you alluded to, we did a physical inspection of 25% of the properties each year. However, our goal was to revalue all properties every year. Now, the commercial's a little bit different in that it's kind of twofold. For one, you have a lack of sales in comparison to residential property. And obviously the commercial market is totally different. You have, the off and on ramp sector, you have Broadway, you have down Monona Drive, you have a lot of different types of properties. And with only, in 2018, you had five commercial sales. In 2017, you had 9 commercial sales. So out of your 329 properties, you had 14 sell. In converse, in the residential market, you had 210 sales over that time out of your 2,779 sales. So about double the percentage sell in the residential market. And obviously there's a lot more homogeneous areas. So what we essentially do is every other year we send out a questionnaire type thing to all commercial properties requesting sales information, appraisal information, income and expense. As you can imagine, we probably get 20% of those back. But we try to gather up a couple years worth of sales and then revalue the entire commercial market. Now, last year we went up from 390 million to 418 million. So last year we saw, and of that, the other interesting part is you have 329 commercial properties, 29 of which make up 51% of the value, which you can probably expect. Those 29 properties went up 9.82%. So we got a lot of value out of that. We got a lot of value out of the senior housing market, the apartment market, which are going quite well. We track income and expense of CoStar, which is a commercial database, things like that. So for us, like say the year before, when there's 5 sales, it's difficult to say I'm going to make a blanket change to the entire commercial market based on those 5 sales because it's just hard to defend. So what we normally do is, again, send out a questionnaire every 2 years, get a database worth of sales that we can defend, and then increase or decrease the commercial market based on that. I looked at the ratio today. We're at 418 million, equalized like 420 million, so like 99.5%. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, it doesn't. So I guess, I'm thinking Walmart in particular.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't been revalued since it started. And it comes up because they sued us, right? So
yeah.
They wanted a new evaluation. And so I guess I was shocked to then realize that we never reappraised them at some point, or revalued. I don't know if I'm using the terminology.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess in that particular sense, if we don't get information back and there's not comparables, do we just not touch it? Or how, and I guess that's a statewide conversation I know too. of
Yep.
How do you find those comparables? And that's one reason why they want to be an empty box.
Well, that's an anomaly type property, right?
Yeah.
When it was built, it was the only one in the country that had the underground parking. We used a third tier approach to that one when we valued it, because obviously we didn't have sales subjects, and the comparables are incredibly hard to find. Most Walmarts are in the, most normal Walmart supercenters are probably in the 8 to 12 million range. We had this one at 28 million. Now that was based on actual cost back at the time. The other twofold piece that I was going to allude to is that, so you have a lack of sales, and for something like that was at 28 million, you have an incredible lack of sales. So we held on to the cost approach and didn't change it, and that was the reason why. We didn't have any other approach to go on. The second fold that I will allude to is that all of these big box and large commercials now have tax reps. They all do. And it started about 4 years ago with Walmart, and actually they came to the board review. They sent somebody up from Arkansas, if Joan will remember, and they didn't actually sue that year. But they put it in court, I think, the year after, and obviously it settled last year. Now, at that point, they probably did. I wasn't other than giving up our approaches and things like that, I wasn't a part of that hearing, but they probably got professional appraisals on both sides. And I think we do 14 or 15 Walmarts throughout the state, and they sue on every single one of them.
Yeah.
So it's, obviously you've heard the big box loophole. The other loophole is that, and it's not, to me, it's not a fair system in that it's not afforded to regular taxpayers. But these large commercial properties take advantage of this, is that, you know, they can just bypass the whole system and go right to court, and that's essentially what Walmart's doing. Menards has a rep, Home Depot has a rep, Quick Trip has a rep. They all are doing it now, so
Yeah.
it's kind of difficult on both sides.
Yeah, no, completely understandable. So you switched kind of your appraisal technique or strategy from sales to cost. And this is just talking generally, does it slowly devalue because of the age? So it was built for $1 million, but then it just devalues because it just gets older, or is that not? Am I thinking of it too simplistically, and that's not how it works?
Well, you're thinking depreciation. It does
Yeah.
depreciate over time, but usually appreciation outweighs that.
Okay.
Now, in this case, you know, all of these big box retailers are using vacant stores. The only Walmarts that you see that sell are the ones, the old ones, where they're the smaller ones that then get converted. They build a super center.
Yeah.
So to find one with underground parking or a similar situation to that is almost impossible.
Yeah.
And it's situations where they're not a thriving store. There's somebody that left that space and has been open for a while. Therefore, to me, it was impossible to find a comparable that way. So cost was the best indicator of value, and I didn't feel that it depreciated to lower the cost over time.
Mhm.
You know, obviously the court, and again, I wasn't part of that proceeding, but I'm sure they had professional appraisers come in and went that route. But
Yeah. And then do you do residential property by cost, or what are the
No,
different
residential-
strategies?
residential, there's enough sales in homogeneous neighborhoods where I could break it down by style of home in certain neighborhoods. So I can say this neighborhood ranches are going up based on these 20 sales.
Okay.
It's pretty easy. I think we have 6 different neighborhoods. We have I think there's 4 different lake neighborhoods. That's the difficult part of Monona, but the core of the residential is pretty easy, and you have a ton of sales.
Okay.
So.
Cool. Thanks.
Other questions?
Yeah. Just to follow up a little bit on the Walmart situation, I mean, to be clear, we didn't suffer from not having it changed, because if we'd have done depreciation, or if you had done depreciation on it, it would have gone down.
Mhm.
So we benefited really by it staying where it was. But if they don't provide information on depreciation, when you send out that survey, then you have no basis to go on, is that?
Right, I mean, we're looking for as much information as we can from them, but as you can imagine, they don't provide income. It's an owner-occupied building, so they would have to do some sort of pro forma income on if it was rented out, that type of thing, because obviously we're not valuing the business, we're valuing the real estate only. But they don't, I mean, they've provided us somewhat low appraisals, not on this one though. I've never seen an appraisal on this one. It probably is part of the court proceedings. But I have appraisals that they've done on all these different ones throughout the state that are about $8 to $12 million. But they've never on this one responded with anything.
Do you use the income approach very often on the commercial properties?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of them are great that way. Hotels, mini warehouses, apartment buildings. You can go straight income expense. Strip malls where I can get triple net leases. It's getting better where CoStar has a database of that type of thing. To actually get somebody's income and expense, they're not provided all that much, and if they are, it's usually to their benefit. I don't see them very often. That's going to go the other way on the assessment, but
Right.
we do. I mean, income's a great way to. It's a third tier approach, so
Right.
we have to look at sales of subject, and we have to look at comparable sales first, and then you go that route. But as you can imagine, any commercial investor is going to go right to the income stream. So it is a good way to value property.
Yeah, okay. So you said our current assessment ratio is 99.5%, and the proposal is to basically take a break from doing the 25% physical inspection every year. Right?
That was our recommendation.
Right.
That we've done 2 cycles of it. I think the records are up to date. You know, you get a lot of people saying, "Hey, you were just in my house."
Right,
It's a good way to save money as well.
Yeah.
It is still the full value approach. So we are going to be looking at the commercial market every year. We're going to be looking at the residential will change every year based on sales. So that's going to get maintained. As Joan can attest to, the board reviews, if you waited, say, 3 years in the markets that we're having right now, and then you're going to raise everybody up, say 20%,
Oh, right,
you're going to have a
right.
flood of people in at open book and board.
Right.
This way, it just kind of, we get even increases or lesser increases and lesser people at the open book and board.
so you'll still aim to maintain a high ratio,
Yep.
assessment ratio?
Yep.
And you will
Okay.
go into to buildings who have actually done additions or remodels, is that correct?
Yes, whatever approach you were to
Homes.
pick, the maintenance portion is looking at all building permits, looking at all sales, all demolitions, anybody that's done work to their house, we go physically inspect, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
Nope.
And I guess, of course, we didn't take a motion on it, so is there a motion to
Move to approve.
approve? Doug? Or a second?
Second, and that's, assume the full
Oh.
value program.
Correct.
Okay, any further discussion? Joan, do you need a roll call for this, or
We probably should do a roll call, yes.
Okay. clerk, please call the roll?
Excuse me. Alder Kitzler?
Aye.
Alder Wood?
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Did you want me to stick around for council or?
Do you think, would you like him to stick around for council, Doug?
I don't know, I mean, we've got the capital budget first, unless, I guess we could move it up. What do you,
I mean, you could, if you anticipate any other questions for the other council members, it's the safest way to go.
Okay, why don't we do, if you
Okay, yeah.
could,
Sure, no problem.
yeah, we'll move you up in the agenda.
Okay,
So
thanks.
that you won't be sitting here all night. Next, up for under 6A, new business consideration of resolution 19-10-2375, purchase approval Parks and Recreation truck. Is there a motion to approve this?
Move to approve.
second?
Jake?
Good evening. So this is one of our longest equipment purchases we've had, but it was a 2018 capital budget item that due to timing in 2018, typically we run into like a April, May deadline of ordering equipment, and if we don't have it ordered by then, we have to wait till the next year. And this year with the staff changeover kind of during that time and looking to pick out what options we were interested in, we missed the early deadline as well. So now we're bringing it forward. Our full-time staff took the initiative and did find that Kaiser Ford on the west side has some of the 2019 models and can honor the state bid price for a Ford F-350. And then it would get outfitted with the utility body, which is basically a lot of tool and equipment storage on the sides and the back, and then a snow plow. So this is the workhorse of the department. In the wintertime, it's used for plowing snow out of parking lots, around the lagoon for getting access to the ice, hauling our heavy equipment trailer, pulling our mowers out of the muck in the summertime, and being our mobile repair center. So with the three kind of itemized line items, we're within that budgeted amount of $47,096.
Questions?
Yeah.
Doug?
Did they make an electric version of this truck yet?
Not of the F-350. That's kind of like I would hope someday in my tenure we would see that, but it's light duty electric trucks. I think are coming out in 2021, so they're
Yeah.
still not even out yet for a commercial.
Or hybrid?
Correct. Yeah, it's same.
My
That
understanding was they were kind of skipping hybrid for trucks and going straight to developing
correct.
electric.
Correct.
Okay.
Any further questions? Okay, hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Wood,
Aye.
Alder Kitzler.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, 6B, the monthly financial report. Mark?
Excuse me. So, I'm just going to kind of start here. If you guys have any questions, just let me know. But I was kind of give you an overview. So far in the general fund, we are in target with a lot of our things, and the revenues and expenses are right on target. So we did budget a fund balance of using $620,000, but we won't be using all that amount. If you kind of go to page 35.
I'm sorry, Mark, did you say we are going to use that full amount of the,
We will not be using all that.
okay.
But on page 35, just excavation permits, we're 136,000. Budget 20, if you remember, we put 50,000 in the budget, just based on, a lot of this is TDS, but we do expect more to come in for next year. Boat launch is going to hit on this for 36. This gets collected and boat launch fees get collected in another account, Fund 80, most of it, and then it gets transferred over within the year. We have to do a separate boat launch account per the state statute for this, and we can transfer the money over. We're barely going to get 21,000 this year at the end of the year. Part of it is the closing of Ace Hardware store. That had a huge effect on our boat launch permits. We probably lost a good $8,000 because of that, just that closing. So that's going to have a big impact. We'll still make our budget numbers, but it won't be able to bring as much as we were before to kind of build back our fund balance in the 800 account.
Mark, do you know, or maybe Jake knows, do we have an arrangement with Rutabaga to sell boat launch permits? Or would they be a potential good place?
Our current outside vendor right now is West Marine on Broadway, and we'll be efforting kind of partners that would make the most amount of sense. So typically the retailers that are selling fishing licenses and fishing equipment are the ones that make the most amount of sense for that kind of grab and go purchase to get it all at one time. So we're going to be looking through our options and presenting that to the board in early 2020 on partnerships. May include Rutabaga, may not. It's really what the willingness of those establishments are to kind of offer those, and some we've had limited success or no success because there is a process to issue a sticker, and they have to keep track of all of them and hand it back, and if not, then they owe us some money, that type of deal. So that prevents theft or handing out a bunch of free or discounted tickets. So it is a little bit of a challenge to sell that point. It's got to be kind of a nice add-on for them if they're there to buy something similar.
Right.
To make
The
sense
kayaks
for.
pay the boat launch fee?
They do, yeah.
Okay.
They're supposed to anyway, yeah.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Mark?
Page 36, just wanted to talk about often interest income. You know, we're at 364,000. And we adjusted the 2020 budget for the revenues. Page 39, page 40. This is going to come in and we talk about on Wednesday, general building permits, general building plans, the repair and maintenance services. You know, budgeted 15,000. Everything's kind of been falling apart this year, but we've been doing a lot of major repairs, so hopefully a lot of that stuff will be fixed for the future. The prior years have all been under 15,000, but this year's been the worst year. But there's been a lot bigger repairs than we have in the past. Kind of underneath that, tax write-offs. We'll see that this number needs to be adjusted. This is the total amount we paid to Walmart for the last tax adjustment. This does not include a share we'll get back from the, so I make adjustments to school district, MATC, and the county. So this number, our share end up being 73,000, 70, would change 74,000 when it's all said and done.
So we'll get a lot of that back. is what
Yeah,
you're saying.
yeah,
Okay.
basically, you have to send a report into the state, and then the state tells you what it is. They'll give the final amount. So, but it's basically the same amount as last year, and we get basically the same thing. All right. Page 42, a lot of stuff. I just kind of hitting some stuff that we been always talking about. Fire. Paid on premise, we're projected to be about 16,000 over budget. Paid on call, about 16,000 or 6,000 under budget, so in net effect will probably be about 10,000 over budget in the fire department this year. Inspection services are up. We will be over budget, but they are okay, based on the revenues. Revenues are up, so we have more time out there. Page 43, this would come into effect when we start talking again on Wednesday. Just going to hit some things. Dispatch, emergency communication, wages part-time, and dispatch overtime. Two things have kind of gone on here that's way down. One is with the fifth dispatcher, it's not as needed as much anymore. Also, a lot of times the old Crow officer was filling in. Doing dispatch, he was, a police officer, so he was getting paid just police salary. So we didn't need as much, the overtime or the part-time. It'll go up a little bit, but we still had justice. We did adjust this in the 2020 budget with working with Wally on this. Okay, page 45, parks. Just kind of noticed the part-time's over budget, and then the park salaries is under budget. The net effect is we'll be under budget. We just officially hired a new parks person. The second person in that department was just hired, I believe, in the beginning of September, October. And then forestry, ash trees. It's been removing the ash trees. We have emergency removals and stuff like that, so we're a little bit over budget. Even with all that, with the over budgets and some of the stuff are under budget, with the revenues coming in, we won't be using the full amount of that 620,000 by year end.
Mark, on that same budget, forestry,
Yeah.
the health insurance is,
Yeah, that's one of the things I adjusted through it's all for some reason our system's putting all the public works health insurance into that account, and I've been adjusting about every so often, so I need to make an adjustment and move those to other health insurance accounts. Page, did have time here. Page 56. It's just kind of a summary of the community rec funds, 204 funds. It's hard just kind of looking at where we're at and kind of make a comparison, so like we kind of break it out. You know, the community center, you know, right now we're 50,000 in the plus, but by the time of the year, just based on projections, we're basically going to be kind of even or a little bit negative. And the negative was mainly resulting because of the building maintenance and repairs in that account. We're about 3,000 over. I think just some recent stuff through October, probably another, I think we're a total of 5,000 over, and we added October. We did adjust that during the 2020 budget. We did increase that to 10,000. The rec budget, recreation, about 54,000 right now. That should be in the positive by the end of the year. Senior center, that should be break even by the end of the year, what we budgeted. And same with the pool. They basically, at the end of the year, they show us break even. So by the end of the year, these should be, you know, depends on how the community center turns out, will be, and the rec, I think will probably be a little bit in the positive by end of the year.
So, right, Mark, excuse me, right. Right now it's showing we're 192,000 positive.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get a lot more expenses.
We end up doing like in the pool, we'll have a lot of salaries and some other stuff. We don't have the revenue coming in. Senior centers is not much that comes in other than, you know, salaries and some other case management stuff. So they usually, that's pretty typical this time of year. By the end of the year, it gets down to about zero on those. The big one is probably the rec department. It's probably that one because of the after school care and the youth camps. We will be in the positive by the end of the year. So, but in general, we don't have a lot of revenues coming in for the pool, like you said, the pool and the senior center, and
Right,
even the community
yeah.
center. So that's why they kind of even out at zero.
Yeah. Okay.
And kind of one last thing, kind of want to hit on. Page 57, EMS. We are down at 72% this year. At this time last year, we're basically had the same budget amount, but the actual was about 76% at the same time last year. We basically kind of billed the same. The biggest difference is last year there was a lot of insurance, more insurance and more private pay. This year, most of the billing has been related to Medicare and Medicaid. So there is a big swing when it's based on that time. But with the new rates, we will be okay by the end of the year. But it does make a difference about the type of pay, what type of payer source. But in the end, with the new rates, that are approved, we should be on target for the rest of the year. That's kind of all I have, unless somebody has any questions. Just one last one I want to hit on. Page 78, every time with the lake levels and then cleaning up, we have like $19,000 this year just in expenses. A lot of it's carried over from last year. But, a lot of stuff doesn't, like this year, the lake level's going high. We had a lot of sandbagging and, sand and time there. It doesn't get covered by FEMA, so it's something we probably have to look at in the future is how we want to budget this. Do we just start budgeting? If this is a new norm, do we start budgeting for all these flood supplies or not? So some to think about. And we did get rewarded. We did, speaking of FEMA, we kind of have 3 FEMA things out there right now. One that covers 4 of them, actually. One to cover the flooding, the original when we did the sandbagging and the cleanup. Both of them have been approved by FEMA, and we should be getting that money within the near future. And we also get approved for some work to the parks. I think they're roughly about, 40-some thousand or 50,000, Dan? Was it 2025? Okay. Their share, so yeah. So we will get some money to use to, on certain parks you have to be used for, but we do get some money we have to use in the next 6 months to start fixing some of the work on these
So
parks.
that's to fix some of the problems in the parks?
Some of the damage from the flooding last year, from the high water last year. So
Okay.
like Schluter, when we did all the grant work, when FEMA came and said it was
Mhm.
you could apply for all this stuff, or what our cost was with what happened there, the riff wrapping that fell into the lake and stuff like that. So they're giving us money to fix a lot of that stuff. So 25,000 we'll end up getting.
Okay, I guess we'll have to, I'm not sure how that relates to the budget amendment for the capital budget.
Yeah, it'd be
If
something.
at all, maybe.
Hopefully, it's something we can do hand in hand and do those at the same time with the budget amendment, because there is our share too. So there's FEMA share and then our share.
Right.
We have to put our stuff in there. So
Any questions, or did you have anything else about the financial
no.
report? Any further
Just
questions,
one.
Doug?
So at the beginning, you said we had budgeted 600 and some thousand
Yeah.
in fund balance.
Yeah.
There's no line in here, right, that shows that?
How much we budgeted?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a line in there that says
In
what
the
fund balance
financial report?
applied is. It won't show. We won't show like an amount coming out. Basically, at the end of the year, it's either your net loss or your net gain is what it ends up being. So at the end of the year, in our general fund, I think it shows in the operating budget what I projected.
Oh,
I
there it
think-
is. Yeah, you're right. It's on page 36.
Yeah. So if you look at that, when we did the 2020 budget, I think I projected, we used 300,000 of it. I think, so we'll have end up taking a net loss of 300,000 instead of a net loss of 600,000, which is what your fund balance applied is.
Hmm.
And that amount, again, was a lot higher this year because of the one-time
Yeah.
shift to closing.
Yes.
Okay.
Andrew, did you have something?
Nope.
Any other questions? Joan, do we vote to accept this? I can never remember.
Excuse me, no, there is
Okay.
not.
All right, well then let's go on to the bills for October 4th through the 17th. Acceptance of general fund accounts payable.
Yep. I just got a
checks.
couple things just to hit on. Page 81, Axie Barrelson, just want to hit on this. This is our legal fees. As you can, I don't know if you remember seeing them all. These are way down to what we've been spending, especially without the TIF stuff in there too. So these numbers are down. And again, this is adjusted in the budget we talked about.
Mark, before we get off this page, the asbestos inspection, do you recall what that was in regard to?
Yeah, I do, but it's for the HARA, but I can't offhand remember. It's for the bridge. Yeah.
Oh.
The Bridge Road Bridge.
Oh,
Just kind of, repairs, page 82, core and main, some hydrant repairs, some curb bot lids that repairs, so miscellaneous parts, so, things sometimes add up, just little things. Page 4, Hamburg construction contractors, finishing up these Bridge Road and the one called Park Lagoon, it's underway. Again, page 6, I just want to show how much, tires, just in general. A lot of these are related to the fire department for their tires and replacements, and police department. Again, that's kind of an expense that adds up. Other than that, I guess page 92, just want to hit the Funny Face Family Fall Festival. That was last week. That was very successful. You will see a lot of these bills in here related to that. At the very bottom, the ice builder supplies, the ice skates for the rink. And then page 95, Monona Bank. These are our credit cards. And we also we get a credit back, money back for using cash back. $150 we just received back for using the credit cards. Not a lot, but it does add up. I think in the year we get close to $600-700 at least. And then page 97, the Purple Cow, just a yard waste disposal that's on this way, open right now. That's all I have.
Any questions? Is there a motion to accept the bills?
move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.